Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and first and foremost, I just want to say happy holidays to all of you guys out there, and thank you for taking the time to check out my podcast. I would very much appreciate it if you could drop me a like down below to help my podcast get out into the algorithm and be exposed to more NBA fans and basketball fans alike. So if this is your very first time checking out my podcast, I just want to let you know this is not just the NBA podcast. I like to go over the NBA, a little bit of college, a little bit of international, and also a little bit of high school as well. So you guys will see me dabble into that. And if you're really interested in what past content that I've made within those fields, go ahead and check out episode 5 where I'm covering a lot of FIBA basketball, and then also episode 16 where I'm talking a little bit about college. Now, I go over four different segments week in and week out. And the 4 segments that I like to go over, one is a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, in PJ's Echelon, essentially it's my power rankings. This list is a progressive list because I'm a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And so within that list, I like to use the eye test, their strength of schedule, the team's record, and then statistically where they sit. So that's PJ's Echelon. The other segment that I like to go over is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, essentially, this is me giving you some type of NBA news, some type of statistical history that may have been made, or honestly, it's just me ranting on about something. So that's What's New. The other segment I like to go over is another segment that I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, as we progress through the season, these will be games that have some type of significance to them, but I've done some games like that already, but also I do games that I may have just really enjoyed over the week. So in last week, I debuted actually showing the highlights of the game as I'm speaking about it, and I got some pretty good feedback on that, so I'm going to keep showing you guys that in that segment of Games of the Week. Lastly, I go over a segment called Rookie Talk. Now, essentially in Rookie Talk, I like to talk about today's rookies, okay? It's self-explanatory, today's rookies, but also I just debuted a segment that I like to call In the Lab, alongside Rookie Talk, and these will switch off week in to week out with each other. But in the lab, I'm essentially talking about the international prospects that I'm, keep my eyes on, or I'm talking about college, or I'm talking about high school basketball. Okay, so those are my 4 topics that I like to go over week in to week out. Now, I don't want to waste any more of you guys' time. I just want to dive straight into it. And the first segment on the line is PJ's Echelon. Okay. Now, if you missed what I had to say about what PJ's Echelon entails, essentially what PJ Echelon is, it's my power rankings. It's a progressive list that I drop week in and week out. And so the 4 parameters I like to use in that list is the strength of schedule, the eye test, statistically where you sit, and then also the team's record. Now, before I dive into that, I'm going to let you guys know. So with Rookie Talk and with In the Lab, those are kind of rotational between each other. They rotate week in and week out. Last week I did In the Lab, and I want to let you guys know I'm going to do In the Lab again this episode because there's just so much stuff in college that I want to talk about so we can all be caught up and be on the same wavelength, because I've been absorbing this information since the beginning of the season. I just haven't had a chance to ingratiate it into my episodes yet. So we're going to talk about In the Lab again this week, and we might talk about it again next week, just so you guys know. Anyways, let's talk about PJ's Echelon. So I'm recording this again Tuesday, December 24th at about 8 p.m. Now, within PJ's Echelon, I'm going to just dive straight into it. Let's get right into it. So my number 1 team this week, this team is 23-5, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma right now, they're 7th in offensive efficiency, they're 1st in defensive efficiency, and they're 1st in net rating. So in technicality, yes, they lost to the Bucks in the NBA Cup, but the NBA rules, I guess, don't count that against them. So they're sporting the longest winning streak right now in basketball at 8 games. They're on an 8-game winning streak right now. They're still averaging more steals than they are turnovers. Right now, steals are averaging about 12.2, and turnovers are averaging 11.9. They're 4th in blocks with 6 a game, but they're also committing the sixth most fouls per game as well, which to me, I'm not too worried about that. For me, that just means that they're playing a physical brand of basketball. And when we get closer to the playoffs, that's obviously going to pay off for them in the long run. But still, something I need to throw out to you guys so you guys are also aware of the same things that I'm aware of. All right. So they're number 1 for me this week. And also, I gave them a little bit of credit for the Miami thing, for beating the Miami Heat. Yes, I know Jimmy Butler only played for like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, but it's hard to go to Miami and not get distracted. if you know what I mean. Anyways, number 2 on my list, this team is 22-7, and that is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're 3rd in offensive efficiency, they're 7th in defensive efficiency, and they're 3rd in net rating. So yes, they did slide very gradually for me, and it wasn't because they lost to the Bulls. It was because they lost to the Magic. Yes, I give them credit for coming back in that game because I did watch the game, but nonetheless, you can't lose that game to the Magic when the Magic are down. The Magic were down 3 of their top 4 scorers, and there was an unknown dude who last name Queen. I think his first name was Trevelin Queen. He was kind of dominating the game. Like, I think the dude had like 3 steals and a block. I think he had like 17, 18 points. I've never heard of the dude, but shout out to him. But yeah, Boston, you can't lose that game. The only person they didn't have was Tatum. They had everybody else. That's just not excusable when you have a player like Jaylen Brown out there with the rest of the crew, okay? And they're also 6-4 in their last 10, so I have to slide them just very gradually. But Boston is still a top 2 team in my opinion. Number 3 on my list, this team is 26-4, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 1st in offensive efficiency, they're 9th in defensive efficiency, and they're 2nd in net rating. So they kind of caught a break this week. No Dame, no Joel Embiid, and they played the Jazz at home. Giannis literally outscored his own starters. He had 33 points. They only have 15. But yeah, so Cleveland gradually slipped for me. I think last week there were 2 for me. They were 2nd. But they gradually slipped because I'm just really impressed with what I've seen from OKC. They're 17-0 against teams below 500. They're 17-1 at home. They have the 2nd highest usage rate, 21% when it comes to using the pick and roll, and they're 1st in points out of the pick and roll at 25 points per game. They're still 1st in field goal percentage at 50%. They're still 1st in three-point percentage at 41%. And they average the 3rd fewest turnovers at 13 a game. That's the Cleveland Cavaliers at 3. Number 4 for me on my list, this team is 19-10, and that is the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas right now, they're 4th in offensive efficiency, they're 11th in defensive efficiency, and they're 7th in net rating. So they split the 2 games with the Clippers over this last week. Luka didn't play in either one of them. I got them slightly above this other team because this other team lost to the Clippers just last night. If you know, then you know. But yeah, so I got them slightly because of that. And also, they stumped out the Blazers. But I enjoyed that matchup when Dallas played Portland because Luka and Kamara, they jaw at each other. And I'll be in attendance for the game on Saturday when Dallas comes to town. They're 5th in rebounding. They're 2nd in free throws attempted at 24. They're 8th. They average the 8th fewest threes per game at 36. But they're 6th best in three-point percentage at 38. Number 5 on my list, this team is 20-10, and that is the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis right now, they're 5th in offensive efficiency. They're 4th in defensive efficiency. They're 4th in net rating. Memphis actually averages the fewest pick and rolls per game at only about 7.4% of the time they use pick and rolls. If you haven't, and it's only 7 points, they only average 7 points out of the pick and roll, which is by far the fewest in the NBA as well. If you haven't had a chance to watch this team's offense, you should watch it. It's very like motion based, but it's like clockwise and like counterclockwise motion based. Very little. It's more so, attacking off the dribble and people kind of rotating. Shout out to their new assistant coach. He comes from D3. His name is Noah LaRoche. He's the one who brought that implementation of this offense. If you have not had a chance to watch the offense, you got to watch the Memphis Grizzlies offense. I personally really like it. I really, really like it. Anyways, they have the most games in the NBA with 6 or more players scoring 10 points in the game. In those games, they're 16-2 in those games. This is by far the deepest team in basketball, and I've been telling you guys this since week 1 of the NBA season. G.G. Jackson is on the way. Number 6 on my list, this team is 20-9, and that is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 13th in offensive efficiency. They're 2nd in defensive efficiency, and they're 6th in net rating. Yes, they took care of 3 lottery teams over this last week. So for me, I just kept them firm at number 6 this week. So we'll see what happens. They play some pretty good teams over the next 2 weeks, so they're for sure going to have a chance to climb in my rankings. They're still 1st in rebounds. They're 2nd in opponents' field goal percentage at 43.5%. They're 5th in opponents' three-point percentage at 34.5%. They're 6th in blocks at 6. They allow the 4th most blocks against them at 6 as well. They shoot the 2nd worst three-point percentage at 32%. they need to play Reed Shepherd, and we'll see what happens. Anyways, they need more shooting. This team is desperate for offense, and I've talked extensively about this. I'm not going to spend time and do it right now. If you're interested in what I had to say before, you can go back a couple episodes and hear me kind of ranting about the Houston Rockets offense. Number 7 on my list. This team is 19-12, and that is the Orlando Magic. Orlando, right now, they're 25th in offensive efficiency, they're 3rd in defensive efficiency, and they're 8th in net rating. So they roared back in 2 different games. Against the Thunder, they were down, I believe, by 23 in the 3rd quarter, and then they roared back. Shout out to Anthony Black. He had a good game in that game. And then they also roared back against the Miami Heat. And I think they scored 25 in the 4th on Miami or something like that. But they only allowed Miami to score 8 points in the entire 4th quarter. So I want to give a big shout out to this team. This team, they're just a pack of wolves. Not even dogs. These are wolves, okay? Shout out to them, and shout out to Jamal Mosley as well. He was on my Coach of the Year ballot, and he is for sure a top 3 Coach of the Year candidate. And P5 is coming. I've been saying that, and I'm going to keep saying it because he's on his way. They're forcing the 3rd most turnovers per game at 17. They're shooting the worst 3-point percentage in the NBA at 31%. Go get Anthony Simons. Just go get Anthony Simons. Good Lord. Anyways, number 8 on my list. This team is 19-10, and that is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're 2nd in offensive efficiency. They're 14th in defensive efficiency, and they're 5th in net rating. They're 2nd in the NBA right now still in field goal percentage at 50%. 2nd in three-point percentage still at 40%. They shoot the 3rd best percentage out of the play and out of the pick and roll at 49%. They allow the 2nd fewest rebounds against them at 41%. They have the 7th hardest remaining schedule, so something kind of just to pay attention to. And in my opinion, you can't trust Mitchell Robinson, so package up campaign and Precious Achiuwa and try to go get Big Valanciunas from Washington. Number 9 on my list. This team is 16-11, and that is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're 6th in offensive efficiency. They're 15th in defensive efficiency, and they're 9th in net rating. So yes, it was kind of hard for me to keep them there because the way they lost that Portland game to me just was not acceptable. That layup was way too easy for Anthony Simons, and they got killed on the offensive glass, but they had 0 turnovers. So I know that game bothered them a lot because it was bothering me watching. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, I do give them credit because they were down about 17 points going into the 4th. So I want to give them credit for that. Also, the whole Zach LaVine talk, I never talked about it on my pod. I didn't think that was relevant. I think this team actually needs more defense than offense. Yes, Nikola Jokic, yes, we know what the numbers are when he's off the court. But let's be real. When the playoffs start, Nikola Jokic is going to play 42, 43 minutes a game. So it's not offense is not their problem. Okay, and Jamal Murray also, I told you guys a couple weeks ago, Jamal Murray was starting to get into a rhythm, and he's continued that this month. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think he's shooting like 45, 46% from the field. I think 41% from 3. I think almost 90% from the line. He's averaging his normal, like 22, 5, and 5 or whatever. Anyways, this team is still in my top 10. They drive me crazy week in and week out, but they're number 9 this week on my list. Number 10, this team was on my list a while back, but they're back, and they're debuting at number 10 this week, and that is the Los Angeles Clippers. Los Angeles right now, they're 17-13. They're 20th in offensive efficiency. They're 5th in defensive efficiency, and they're 10th in net rating. So I've been telling you guys Kawhi might be coming back. From what I've read, it looks like he might be debuting this Friday. I think either this Friday or probably mid next week, we're going to see Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup. I want to give a big shout out to Ty Lue for holding the ship down through this whole thing. I think he's for sure a top 5 Coach of the Year candidate. They picked up a big win against Memphis, which I watched a good bulk of that game. It was a really, really good game. They're 4th in opponents' 3-point percentage at 34%. They allow the 4th fewest rebounds per game at 42. They're 5th in opponents' points per game at 108. They allow their opponents to shoot the 4th lowest free throw percentage at 76%. So shout out to Steve Ballmer because the wall is working. All right. And then my bubble team is still Milwaukee. I still need to see how this team looks fully healthy. We have yet to really get a full sniff of that. But they have a really easy schedule over their next 6. 5 of their next 6 games are against lottery teams. So I expect them to go 5-1 in that stretch. Now, you let me know who is in your top 10 and who do you have on the bubble down in the comment section below. Now, with that being said, my next segment is what's new. Now, in this segment, if you missed it, it's essentially just me giving you some type of statistical history that may have happened, or me ranting, or just some type of NBA news that may have happened. All right, so let's kick this off. So, number one, Mo Wagner. He ended up tearing his ACL, so he's done. He's done for the season. So I feel so bad for the Magic, to be honest, but he was very solid for them off the bench. Shout out to Mo, because he was for sure, top 5 candidates for 6th man of the year. He was balling all year. Jamal Crawford was just recently hired by NBC to call games next year on the NBC network. Also, they're trying to hire Reggie Miller as well. So NBC will be broadcasting games on Mondays on Peacock, NBC national TV on Tuesday, and then once NFL season is over, they'll be doing Sunday night games as well. Zion, another piece of news is Zion is going to be he's going to start fully practicing probably next week. I think he's still about 2 weeks out before he plays. Another piece of information, Kevin Durant just moved to 15th on the all-time field goals made list. He just recently passed Carmelo Anthony, so shout out to KD. LeBron is now the all-time NBA leader in games of 10 points or more. So shout out to LeBron in that as well. So something funny that happened was in the Spurs and 76ers game. I was actually watching it live when it happened. Andre Drummond got ejected, but then they re-injected it. They basically canceled out the ejection. The female ref, she literally said I was wrong. So I thought that was funny. Something I wanted to share with you guys. Another thing that happened within that game, Victor Wembanyama becomes the 6th player in NBA history to record 30 points and 10 blocks in a game, joining Hakeem Olajuwon, who did it 5 times, David Robinson, who done it 3, Dwight, he done it once, Artis Gilmore, he did it once, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he did it once as well. Another thing Victor did was Victor broke the franchise record. He passed David Robinson for the most consecutive games with at least 1 block. The record was 62. He passed that record when they played Portland a couple of days back. Also, shout out to Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe had a really good game in that game as well. Victor Wembanyama and Cade Cunningham won Players of the Week this last week. And yeah, so that's it for what's new. I didn't want to overload you guys with information. Again, I could sit here and give you guys 10, 20, 30, I can give you 10, 20, 30 minutes worth of information, but I'm just trying to keep it short and simple for you guys. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what's new in your eyes, and what information do you guys want to share with each other. Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, my next segment is Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, if you missed it earlier, all I'm talking about in Games of the Week are games that I really liked, or games that has some type of significance, within the standings, or obviously as the season goes on, we'll have more home court advantage games that have some type of significance with that, and then also obviously play-in implications and whatnot. But today's game, honestly, don't worry about the score of the game. I'm honestly just about to rant, because that's all I really wanted to do when it came to one of these two teams. Okay, I'm gonna just be real with you guys. There was games, don't get me wrong, there were games that I really enjoyed watching over this last week, but I just got to use this opportunity to just kind of express myself, how I'm feeling. So the game that I chose this week, and I only chose one because I want to give myself enough time to rant, is the San Antonio Spurs versus the Portland Trail Blazers. San Antonio did win this game very handily, 114-94. And so, again, like I said, don't pay attention to the score. I just want to point out a couple things to you guys. Obviously, I talked about Wemby breaking the streak. He also tied his career high in blocks in this game as well. I'm not going to talk about that. But I kind of want to bring to you guys attention. Obviously, this month, Wemby's averaging, I believe, 29 points. I think 10, 11 rebounds. I think he's averaging 5 assists. I think he's averaging 4 or 5 blocks, a steal. But what's eye-popping is his field goal percentage shooting, and that's what kind of made me start kind of thinking. So Wemby right now on the month, I believe he's shooting about 40, 48. He's almost shooting 50, 40, 90 on the month, all right? And it made me think, once this dude gets to where he's going to be in the next, I would say, by year, within the next, I would say probably this is year 2, so probably within the next 4 years when he's about year 6, Victor, I believe, is going to have an opportunity to kind of duplicate or get close to what Kevin Durant did a couple years back when he got traded from Brooklyn to Phoenix, where he averaged 55% from the field, 40% from 3, and 90 from the free throw line. That he was the only player ever to do that. I think Victor's going to have an opportunity to potentially duplicate and do that with his skill and his ability. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys because that's something that I just started thinking about. I'm watching this and I'm like, once this dude adds weight and he understands like where his spots on the floor are and when how to pick his spots, I believe he's going to have an opportunity to do that. I really do. So I just wanted to throw it to you guys. So that was something I kind of just wanted to point out to you guys. Another thing, and the most important thing why I really want to talk about this is I want to talk about the Blazers for a second. Now, I have been a big advocate of giving Shaedon Sharpe the keys, running the offense through him. So I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that. So for me, I love, and Shaedon had a great game. He had a really good game in this game. So that's also what's prompted me to talk about this a little bit more. Shaedon, in my opinion, needs to be taking 20 to 23 shots a game. Yes, you heard me. 20 to 23 shots a game on some like Kobe and Jordan stuff. He really needs to be doing that, in my opinion, because he's that gifted and he's such a fun watch. If you've ever just watched him play, you could tell, like, no disrespect, I ain't saying like he don't be in the gym, but you could tell like he don't be in the gym. Like, he's just naturally a gifted basketball player. He just looks so smooth and easy to him. And that's why I was such a big fan of his when I realized that Portland had an opportunity to draft him. No, I'm not a Blazer fan, but I do reside here. So obviously, yes, I want to be able to go and watch good basketball live too. So anyways, I'm a big advocate of his. I've been a big advocate of his before he even got drafted. When I realized Portland had a chance to grab him, I was a big advocate of that. But I'm saying that to say this. Shaedon Sharpe is shooting 57% on twos on the season. And no, it's not just him dunking the ball. If you're really watching, it's not just him dunking. He's only taking about 2 or 3 mid-range jump shots a game, but he's shooting about 51% on those shots. He, obviously, with the volume increase, I expect his mid-range jump shots to come up to more closer to like 5 to 6 a game. And that's his percentage. I don't expect to stay at 51. It'll probably come down to like 48, 49, but that's still really good. But I just love Shaedon Sharpe as a player, and I really wish Portland would just get off of the Jeremy Grants of the world, get off of Anthony Simons, and just give Shaedon the keys. Because in my opinion, this young core of Portland is not that far off. I believe Scoot Henderson, yes, I know Scoot gets a lot of slander from people, but I believe Scoot is not drafted to be the franchise player. I believe Shaedon Sharpe was already going to be that. I've been feeling that since they drafted him. I was like, oh, this is going to be their franchise player. Even when Dame was still on the team, I had a feeling he was going to be him. I never thought Scoot was going to be that. I think Scoot is just going to be a floor general type of hustle player, and that's all he needs to be. He just needs to give you that 17 points, 9 to 10 assists a game. Like, that's all he needs to give you, because I believe Shaedon Sharpe is going to be the one to give you that 25 to 30 points a game. I think Klingon's going to hold down the defense alongside Tamani Kamara and Denny Advia. I don't know if I pronounced his last name wrong, but I'm sorry, Denny. He comes into my job, but I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. But anyways, also, I think all Portland is missing is that secondary score that they can depend on to give them that 20 to 25 a night. And that's why I think this NBA draft is going to be very critical for this team. I believe if they can find that next scorer to go along with Shaedon, because I don't think Scoot's going to be that, and that is okay. That is okay, you guys. Like, he does not need to be that. And if you guys really thought he was being drafted to be the franchise player, you, like, respectfully, you don't know basketball. You just don't. You don't know what you're talking about. If you felt like Scoot was going to be the franchise player, I never ever thought that. I never thought that. I've always felt like it was Shaedon Sharpe. But I do think they're just missing that 20 to 25 point game score. In my opinion, if they can get Ace Bailey, I think that would be a slam dunk, in my opinion. If I had to choose, if they can get Ace Bailey or Cooper Flagg, which I believe they're going to have an opportunity, because I do think Portland is going to get off of some of these veteran players, I believe, as we get closer to the deadline. And I just hope they do, because I think that's all they're missing with this young core. And I just wanted to take some time and kind of just express that to you guys, because, again, this is stuff that, like, I talked about it in my pre-Blazer episode in my preseason preview. I talked about this, but I just wanted to kind of throw it out there to you guys again, because I know stuff gets lost. There's a lot of information from a lot of different people being thrown out there, but I believe Portland is literally just that 120 point per game score away, because I'm very high on Shaedon Sharpe, just like I'm pretty high on Keontae George as well. But really, Shaedon Sharpe, man, that's a special player. And if you guys haven't had much time to watch him, go ahead and watch him. I wish he was more aggressive, but also I'd be having to remind myself, he didn't play college. And when he first got in the NBA, he was behind Dame. He was behind Dame and Simons. And then he got hurt. And now this year, he's finally going into kind of being a starter and trying to understand what defenses are throwing at him and whatnot. So bro, check this out. The dude has not even started a full season's worth of games yet either. I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's only started 59 games in his career. I'm telling y'all, this is a special player brewing right now in the Northwest, and that is the franchise player. It is not Scoot Henderson. And so I'm sorry. Like normally for games of the week, I'll go over 2 to 3 games, but I just have to take this opportunity just to kind of express myself how I was feeling about Shaedon Sharpe, because I feel like he's a sleeping giant in my opinion. And yes, he's very nonchalant, very laid back personality, which can be kind of scary. But for me, what's promising is that he's naturally gifted. And his favorite player is Kobe Bryant, and he's quiet. And quiet people are usually, deadly mofos. You don't mess with a quiet person on the street. Those are deadly people. So I just wanted to give some love to Shaedon during the segment. And obviously shout out to Wemby as well. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know some of your favorite games this week. Again, I'm sorry I used this to kind of rant a little bit. But I just feel like I wanted to. I had this on my heart and my mind. And I just wanted to just say it to you guys, to be real, okay? My next segment is In the Lab. Now, again, if you missed last week me talking about In the Lab, go back and go ahead and check out. I gave some shout outs to some freshmen that I really liked and have enjoyed watching. But man, like I said, next week, I'm probably going to talk about In the Lab again. So next week, if you missed episode 16, which was my college season preview, I picked 30 prospects, not the 30 best, but I picked 30 prospects that I was going to be keeping my eyes out on in America. But then also I did 10 international prospects that I was going to be keeping my eyes out on internationally. So next week, I will be giving you guys an update of 10 of those prospects next week. So you don't want to miss out on that. I'm going to do In the Lab again next week because we got to catch up. I got to catch you guys up at where I'm at. And if you're already caught up, then great. You can help me down in the comment section below and help me put some of these other people onto these prospects. But anyways, next week, we're going to talk In the Lab again. And we'll dive into 10 of the prospects that I've been keeping my eyes out on. Anyways, today for In the Lab, I just want to give you guys a little bit of the recruiting news update. So Kansas commit Bryson Tiller is enrolling early in Kansas. He's going to start in January. I'm just so super extremely excited next season to watch Darren Peterson, the number 1 rated shooting guard and the number 2 overall prospect. He's going to Kansas. To me, I enjoy watching him play. I really, really enjoy watching him play. To me, you can argue. I'm not saying I'm making the argument, but you can argue he's the number 1 rated player in the country. He's so smooth. I'm so excited to watch him next season, and he plays both ends of the floor. Anyways, another piece of news is Dash Daniels, which is Dyson Daniels' younger brother, and he's a potential first rounder in the 2026 NBA draft. He's going to be joining the NBL Next Stars program in Melbourne United next season. He's one of the best prospects, perimeter defenders in FIBA. So just keep your eyes out for Dash. He's a really, really good defender like his brother. Somebody to keep your eyes out on, and somebody obviously I've been keeping my eyes out on. So 5-star, number 8 rated player in class of 2025. Caleb Wilson. I talked about him actually over the summer on some of my summer episodes. He plans to make a commitment for sure in January. So he's considering Ohio State, Kentucky, UCF, Tennessee, and UNC and North Carolina. So that's something to look out for because him and then Nate Ament. Those, I think, are the only 2 people left in the top 10 and 25 that haven't committed. Oh, no, I think Mikael Brown, I think he decommitted from, Louisville. Now I think he's considering Louisville or Ole Miss, I believe, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, that's something I also wanted to point out to you guys. Obviously, I want to show a little bit of love to AJ DeBonsis. He was named the MVP at the tournament that he played in over this weekend. Number 13 Utah Prep is the team that he plays for. They beat number 4 Brewster Academy 45-43. Very low-scoring game. So I just wanted to give him some love. He won the MVP of that tournament. Also, I want to show some love to Dink Pate at the G League Showcase. Dink had 26 points. He was 6-9 from 3. He has a very funky release. Okay, I'm just let you guys know his jump shot is very funky, at least in my opinion. But anyways, he shot 6-9 from 3 in that showcase. He had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. And they ended up winning the game. And there was quite a few NBA execs at that game. Now, again, next week, I'm sorry too that I'm not like able to really go deep dive on like some of these other players quite yet. Again, I'm just trying to make sure these episodes are not too long for you guys. But next week, again, we will talk about 10 of the 30 prospects that I kind of brought to you guys' attention at the beginning of the college season. We'll be talking about 10 of those next week. And I'm going to let you guys know the 10 right now that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Igor Demon. We're going to talk about Kasparas Yakachonis. Slet. We're going to talk about Derek Queen. We're going to talk about Trey Johnson. We're going to talk about Con Knipple. We're going to talk about Common Malawach. We're going to talk about Will Riley. We're going to talk about Asai Noel. We're going to talk about Noah Essenjun, and we're going to also talk about Ben Sarv, all right? So I'll update you guys on some of those players next week, and hopefully I'm going to try to give us enough time in the back end of the episode so I can talk a little bit about them. I at least going to give you guys statistically where they are and like a very brief, like what I'm thinking about them, how they're doing this season or whatnot, all right? So I want to take this moment and thank you guys for supporting me. 2025, I have a very good feeling that 2025 is going to be a pretty big year for this podcast. And I just want to give all the praise and thank you to the man above, but I also want to give thanks to you guys for supporting me and just watching what I'm doing here and actually like noticing that I'm putting in the work and I'm trying to give you guys the best content possible. Anyways, with that being said, you guys have a happy holidays and PJ's out.